what the girl saw. So I snuck inside the carriage before they hooked up the horses, just like always.
Hold it!
So you were already in the omnibus before it even set off on its run. Well, yeah, I mean, what's the point of spending a joey to a few bob, eh? That's a rum idea, innit? I suppose she means there's no point spending money to make money. It actually makes sense. Counsel, may I remind you that this girl is a petty thief. Kindly refrain from entertaining her tenants. Well, that does clear up the little mystery of the farce and all. For paying passengers at 5 pence apiece, making the 20 of which the cabman testified. And one little scapegrace riding for free. The red conch of a driver always goes for some grub before its last one, see? So that's when I slip into the carriage and get myself hidden under the seat. Nice and easy, right? But your hiding place is a storage compartment. Full of equipment for the coach, no? Yeah, there's brushes and buckets and whatnot in there, sure. I always chuck all that out and cram it in a corner somewhere. No one ever seems to bother much. And yet, according to the report filled by the police officer who first arrived at the scene... Was war jetzt? Scapegrace riding for free. The red conch of a diver always goes for some grub before this last one, see? Okay. I always chuck all that out and cram it in a corner somewhere. And yet, according to the report filled by the police officer who first arrived at the scene, the compartment was full of such paraphernalia. Well, I don't know nothing about that. Like I said, I moved all that stuff out so I could hide under the seat. That's all I can tell ya. It seems we've reached the end of that line of enquiry. Continue. But it was a right old waste of time. I got nothing to show for me troubles that night.
Hold it!
A waste of time? Why is that? Well, most nights I'm on my own and the God permit at least some all the time. I beg your pardon. Did you say God permit? Oh yeah, well, that's what my kind call it. You'd say the omnibus, I suppose. The point is, any normal one, the carriage ain't got no one in it for a while. And that's when you come out of your hiding place and get away. That's it, only that night. This cove was sat on me seat from the start. And it didn't budge the whole way, did he? Not 1 inch, I was totally stuck. Do you mean to tell us that you were present in the carriage for the duration? You were under the seat the entire time while events unfolded in the enclosed cabin. Yeah. Right, mister? To be sure. I was as shocked as anyone. You don't expect to lift the cushion you've been sat on and find a child now, do you? So this Mr. Straight couldn't possibly be the culprit then. I tell ya, you can't see a blind thing in that hiding place. It's pitch in there.
Hold it!
So you couldn't see out into the cabin at all. Not a jot. Most days I push the cushion up with me at and look out the crack. Then I can have a butcher's at who I'm gonna fiddle. I thought you were a pickpocket, not a butcher. I mean, I can have a look. The seat I get under ain't as plush as the other ones. See? Was war das mit dem Butcher? So most of the time, the passengers planned themselves opposite. But for some reason, that night, this Irishman spent the whole journey right over me head. And for that reason, you weren't able to push the cushion up to peek out. I see. Truth is, I ain't too happy in small dark places. Feels too much like being thrown in the clink. But it's the only place to hide in them carriages, so it's Hobson's choice. Why doesn't she just stick to packing people's pockets in the open then? I'd say there's some reason that she's not letting on, judging from her demeanor. So anyways, I was a bit scared, but I had to just stick it out under there, nothing else for it. Then after a while, I hear this loud bang, nearly jumped out my skin, I did. And the screams just came out.
Hold it!
When you say a loud bang, do you mean the noise of someone falling to the floor? Could have been, I suppose. I don't remember so well. Point is, it made me jump. And you let out a scream, involuntarily. That's right. And then I felt the cushion over my head get lighter all of a sudden. Presumably when the defendant got up in order to help the victim, yes. Or not. It could equally have been the moment the accused stood in order to stab his victim, could it not? Okay, Cushion, Polster, Kissen, Dämpfer. Auflage. Ich glaube, Auflage macht am meisten Sinn, weil ich hatte auch eher Kissen im Kopf und ich dachte gerade, hey, das macht ja irgendwie gar nicht so viel Sinn. It could equally have been the moment the accused stood in order to stab his victim, could it not? Well, girl, did you see what happened at that crucial moment? Yeah, I saw it. Bitte was? I pushed up the cushion and had a quick butt thrust while I had the chance, didn't I? The Irishman was sitting up the bloke what had fallen on the floor on the seat opposite. That matches Mr. McGilda's account, of course. But then, the fella suddenly turns around and looks right at me. I sunk back down again, but it was too late by then. I should never have risked looking. It's because of that the swell found me. He did help me get away, mind.
Hold it!
And when Mr. McGilda discovered you, he pulled you out from your hiding place. I was scared stiff, I was. He dragged me out and sat me down on the seat and all. Next to the victim, Mr. Mason. Yeah, the bloke had a knife in its guts. He was still bleeding. Then the carriage lurched a bit and he ended up falling onto me. How awful. Both me and got covered in blood. It made me feel sick as a dog. Both her hands covered in blood. That must be what the rooftop passengers saw. After that, I believe you talked with Mr. McGilda for a while. Is that correct? So... Okay. After that, I believe you talked with Mr. McGilda for a while. Is that correct? He asked me some stuff. Wanted to know my name and what I was up to and that. Then I heard something from up above. Someone screamed. Yes, Mr. First on the roof deck, one would presume. Well, I didn't want no one seeing my face, so I didn't look up. Then the horses were drawn up smartish and this Irishman says to me, "Get back under the seat. I see that you can get away later." All 6 members of the jury had decided the defendant was innocent. For one brief shining moment, yes. It's clear that they are all still very unsure. If we could just find some conclusive piece of evidence among this new testimony, I'm sure we would clinch the verdict we want. Yes, I think you're right, and I have this niggling feeling. Something's bothering me, but I just can't quite put my finger on it. Okay, so I snuck inside the carriage before they hooked up the horses, just like always. But it was a wide old waste of time. I got nothing to show for me troubles that night. I tell ya, you can't see a blind thing in that hiding place. It's pitch in there. And after a while I hear this loud bang. Nearly jumped on my skin, I did, and the scream just came out. This loud bang. Wir speichern mal. This is loud bang. Because that's a spray fountain. We did have him. Wait.
Objection!
Okay, das war falsch. Well, I hear this loud bang. Nearly jumped out my skin. The scream just came out.
Objection!
Okay, auch nicht. Das ist jetzt gerade raten. Gerade bisschen lost.
Hold it!
Hold it. A waste of time, what is that? Well, most nights I'm on my own on the god permit at least all the time. I beg your pardon, did you say god permit? Oh yeah, well that's what my kind call it. You'd say the omnibus, I suppose. Okay. The point is, any normal one, the carriage ain't got no one in it for a while, and that's when you come out of your hiding place and get away. That's it, only that night. This didn't budge away, did you? Not 1 inch, I was totally stuck. And you tell us you were present in the carriage for the duration. Okay. White, white, white. Okay.
Hold it!
Not a jot. Most days I push the cushion up with me at and look out the crack. Then I can have a butcher's at who I'm gonna fiddle. I thought you were a pig puller, not a butcher. I mean, I can have a look. Seat I get under ain't as much as the other one. See, so most of the time the passengers plan themselves opposite. But for some reason that night, this here Irishman spent the whole journey right over me at, and for that reason he weren't able to push the cushion up to peek out. I see. Truth is, I ain't too happy in small dark places.
Well, no.
Okay. I ain't too happy in small dark places, feels too much like being thrown in the clink. Was hast du denn hier plötzlich?
Excuse me.
Is something wrong, Mr. McGilded? Oh, I do apologize. Was there something the matter, Counsel? I'm just wondering if Miss Lestrade's last comment made something occur to you, perhaps. You seem to be thinking something to yourself. Oh, no, it was nothing important. I was feeling bad for the poor lass, is all. I remember feeling desperate myself as a young lad, shut up in the dark. 'Twas terrifying, so it was. I see, yes, I'm sure we can all sympathize. I'm still scared of the dark now. Aye, and I don't know about yourself, but I find that the darkness seems to make everything you hear seem that much louder as well. Yeah. I suppose it does. Maybe. Miss Lestrade, did you hear something that night? Anything? An unusual noise, perhaps? Nah, not really. All I could hear was the Irishman snoring. Bejabbers! There's no need to tell the whole world of me foibles, you little champ. What a pity. If only Miss Lestrade had heard something, it might have given us a vital new clue. Yes. What should we make of that last statement of hers? Profoundly important. My lord, I believe the statement just made by the witness is profoundly important. Profoundly important? But all she said was that she heard nothing. Yes, which is a profoundly important point. I'm almost sure of it. I'm almost sure that I don't understand the inner workings of your Eastern mind, Counsel. Nevertheless. Miss Gina Lestrade, you will supplement your formal testimony by repeating that last statement, please. What? Superman? What are you on about? Don't give me all your fancy talk. I know what you're trying to do. Well, it won't work on me. That's right. Inside the judge. Always a good move. Okay. I was straining the ears to work out what was going on, but all I could hear was snowing. Sie hörte nur Schnarchen.
Hold it!
So you were straining to hear what has happened the entire time, since the moment you hit yourself. Not exactly, no. Sorry? Well, there was no one in the cabin to start with. I could just push the cushion up and have a butchers to see what was what. But then, when I saw the swell getting on, I got me head down so he didn't notice me. And Mr. McGilded sat on the seat under which you were hiding, correct? Yeah, what you Adam and Eve it, eh? What the mug? So then, all I could do was listen. I was waiting to jump out there as soon as I heard him leave, see? But would he? Not likely. Even though we stopped here and there, I never heard the door open. So I just had to stay put and listen to I'm driving as pigs to market. Snowing like an old dog, he was. Are there any conclusions we can draw from that, I wonder? It makes sense? Well, that all seems to make sense. You took your time reaching that conclusion, Counsel. Heh. What was that from Van Zieks? Is he laughing? Very well then, continue with the cross-examination. Hier hätten wir it doesn't add up machen müssen. Oh, das wollte ich doch gar nicht. Ich wollte zurückgehen. Stop, bla bla bla. Danke, danke, danke. Mann, warum will ich die Schultertasten benutzen, um zurückzugehen? Zack, zack, zack. So. 1, 2. Und dann hier holen. Dann hat er geschnarcht. Zack, zack, zack. Yeah, wouldn't add watermark. So then all I could do was listen. But would he? Not likely. Even though we stopped here and there, I never heard the door open. So just had to stay put and listen to him driving his pigs to market. Snowing like an old dog he was. Are there any conclusions we can draw? It doesn't add up. Miss Lestrade, what you have just told the court is clearly at odds with the facts. Ah! At odds? Are you sure, man? Absolutely. It seems my learned Nibonese friend is not as dull-witted as I feared. So Van Zieks realized it too. Counsel, I must insist that you bolster your claim with evidence, or some complicit party's name at the very least. Yes, my lord. I expect you to demonstrate this alleged contradiction to the court. According to Miss Lestrade, where she was hiding in the omnibus that night, she heard nothing but the sound of Mr. McGilded snowing. But think, Wionoske, think! There's something else she should have heard. Show a person. Den Schrei von dem... Den Schrei von dem, First? Very well, my lord. Allow me to elaborate. On a particular sound that Miss Lestrade could not have failed to hear on the night in question. The sound very clearly explained by the presence of the following person.
Take that!
It would seem phantoms are at work again. This time in my Nipponese friend's ears. I concur. No sound is apparent to me at all. Oh. That will be very real indeed, however, yeah. Okay, gucken wir mal. Show a piece of evidence vielleicht. Allow me to elaborate. On a particular sound that Mr. Lestrade could not have failed to hear on the night in question. The sound very clearly explained by the following piece of evidence.
Take that!
Auch wieder nicht. Ich habe keine Ahnung. Allow me to elaborate. Autopsie
Take that!
auch nicht. Phantoms are at work again. Ja. Show a person.
Take that!
Thrice fired Mason. Okay, der ist Opfer. Yes, my lord. The sounds that Miss Lestrade cannot have failed to hear is that of the victim, Mr. Mason, boarding the omnibus. Stimmt. Order! Explain your reasoning, counsel. Miss Lestrade, allow me to confirm something. You claimed earlier that you were the first person on board the omnibus. Is that correct? Yeah, of course I was. I got on while the driver was in the pub, didn't I? And the next person to board the omnibus was Mr. McGilded. That it was. Not a soul was in the cabin when I climbed aboard. At least, not in plain sight. So you were, to all intents and purposes, alone in the enclosed cabin of the omnibus at that time. Did I not just say as much? I wasn't traveling with anyone else, if that's what you mean. Yeah, I saw him get on, remember? Through the crack under the seat cushion. He was on his own for sure. And from what we've heard, the carriage made a number of stops after that on its onward journey. During which time, did you not hear the door opening or closing at all? Nah, I never heard it. That's exactly what I was listening for. Weren't it? Waiting for the swell to leave. In which case, when and how did the victim end up in the carriage? Ah! We know that the victim collapsed inside the enclosed cabin of the omnibus. Therefore... Oh! Ist er vielleicht von oben gefallen? Ist er von oben runtergefallen? Von dem Dachfenster? Weil ein lautes Geräusch hast du ja gehört. Dann ist er nicht von seiner Bank runtergefallen, sondern von oben. Miss Lestrade's statement about what she did, or did not hear, is at odds with the facts. Ah! Yes, this petty thief's statement was clearly flawed. Lord Van Zieks. Yes. He knew. He knew all too well that there was an inconsistency in Miss Lestrade's statement. It would seem words of thanks are in order for my learned friend. What are you talking about? You have demonstrated matters impeccably. This witness and her colorful statements are entirely unreliable. Her words are convenient untruth, nothing more. You're dead right. How could the victim possibly not have boarded the omnibus? That makes no sense whatsoever. And this girl is a pickpocket. Let's not forget that. She didn't even say anything. Aber wieso macht sie das denn? Ich würde ja eher daraus schließen, dass er unschuldig ist, weil in seiner Zeit, wo er da drin war, niemand reingegangen ist. Na gut, oder man vertraut ihr halt einfach nicht. I didn't want to judge the dear little mite just because she has some rather naughty ways. But I must say, I can't abide liars. And neither can I. Mr. Foreman! I didn't want to judge the girl just because she has some less than salubrious ways. But I must say, I cannot abide liars. Oh no. Kommt jetzt wieder zur Summation, Examination. Arg! Mr. Naruhodo, that's 5 jury members leaning towards guilty. Well, your consideration for others is refreshing, my Nipponese friend. To the considerable troubles you have spared me. Prost. Yes, very refreshing. Ah! Gah! What are you playing at? Have you forgotten who you're working for? You useless Eastern Emidan? This is carnage. It's perfect. Juror number 2 is the only one left. Mr. Naruhodo, the way this is going... I know, if we can't find some new ways to conceive everyone of Mr. McGill's innocence, convinced, the judge will rule, and we'll have lost. I very much wanted to believe the words of one of London's most respected gentlemen, but those of us in service know we must accept hard truth.
Hold it!
Yes, the witness' last statement seems to have revealed a critical inconsistency in her story. However, if we consider the possibility that her statement is in fact the truth, it may shed an entirely new light on this whole case. What are you saying? Counsel! I'm sorry, sir. Whatever do you mean? Counsel, I will not tolerate you attempting to provoke my adjudication. Explain yourself at once. When the accused boarded the omnibus on the night in question, the victim was nowhere to be seen. Subsequently, the carriage door was not heard opening a single time, as testified by the witness in the stand. And yet the victim's body was found inside the carriage. If this pity thief's words are to be believed, how do you explain the victim's miraculous appearance inside the cabin of the omnibus? Okay, der Moment der Wahrheit. Konzentration. There's only one way to explain how the victim came to be inside the carriage. There's another entrance, würde ich sagen. Aber ich speichere vorher lieber. If the door wasn't opened even once, the only explanation is that the victim entered the enclosed cabin some other way.
Objection!
I wondered what new fantasy you would come up with in your blind panic. But behold, the omnibus is here for all to see. Only one side of the enclosed cabin is furnished with a door, the other has only windows. Fixed windows, which cannot possibly open. In short, there's no entrance to the cabin other than the door.
Objection!
But there could be. There's one possibility you haven't considered. Blah. Oh, really? Yes, one other way inside that isn't the door. Another opening, the use of which allowed the victim to appear inside the enclosed cabin. Alright, counsel. The defense will identify the location for the court. There's the omnibus on which the incident occurred. Where on earth is this entrance by which you propose the victim entered the cabin? Von oben. Let's go! The answer is obvious. It can only have been the skylight. I say, the skylight?
Objection!
Your ludicrous proposal almost has me lost for words. However,
Objection!
the skylight may well be large enough for someone to pass through.
Objection!
So you claim, but do you have a shred of evidence to support your addle-brained theory? Both Mr. McGilded and Mr. Straight said the same in their testimonies. They each claimed to have heard a loud thud, such as the noise made by someone falling to the floor. Yes, which has already been explained. As the sound of the victim falling from a seat having been assaulted with a dagger. Yes, it has. But would a man slipping from the seat onto the floor really have made such a loud noise as the witnesses described? A noise loud enough to cause Mr. Straight to let out an involuntary cry, in fact. Good gracious! Perhaps, in fact, that was the moment that the victim made his entrance into the cabin. No, let me rephrase that. The victim didn't enter the cabin as such. He fell into it.
Objection!
You are now suggesting that the victim fell from the skylight onto the cabin. That's simply impossible. How can you be so sure? Because if the victim had fallen inside through the skylight, as you say, the passengers on the roof deck would have seen it happen. And yet, not one person made mention of such events in their testimony. Well, yes, that's true, but... Might a humble fella make a wee comment here? Mr. Gilded. To be sure now, the two fellas who were sat on the roof that testified before said nothing of the victim falling through the skylight. But it seems to me, my lord, that 'tis not so much a case of them not saying, but... Aye. It is a case of them being unable to say. What? I think perhaps the two fellas do be having something of a compelling reason to not to mention what happened. Would you not agree, fine ladies and gentlemen of the jury? Oh my goodness, surely not. Those two chaps on the roof. You mean, the ones who stuck that knife in the man were...